Welcome back, adventurers, once again to Let's Play Chaos Head. In the last episode, Takumi and Rimi noticed a rather peculiar protest gathering on the streets of Shibuya as they were on their way to a record store. And at first glance, it seems that this protest march was condemning the recent new-gen incidents. Although there is still something about that protest that, I don't know, call it intuition, but it seems a bit off to me that it would happen so suddenly and so soon. Regardless, in any event, Rimi was interested solely in purchasing a CD which, by sheer coincidence, happened to be Phantasm's latest album. As turns out, she is actually aware of their connection to New Gen, and by that I of course mean the fact that Fez's lyrics uncannily mirror the events of the current New Gen incidents so far, which is why they're under police scrutiny. For some reason, however, the album has apparently been sold out, and thus Rimi was unable to get her hands on it, but fortunately for her, Takumi had a copy beforehand, having researched the connection himself, and so the two of them are here, back at Takumi's base, without any incident. It was all thanks to Rimi, of course. I owed her one. But I was a tad put off by how she instantly rejected my request to wait outside while I tidied my room up a little. Yeah.
だって前に来た時に汚いっていうのはよーくわかったし、今さら片付けたって無駄だよ。
She kind of has a point there, Takumi. No use in playing chivalrous now.
かっこつけなくてもいいって。私とタクの中でしょね。
Though Takumi is still a little bit upset about that. Oh well. What kind of pals? That is still a very good question. Rimi was absent from my memory, and so I didn't really know. Once in a while I was startled by Rimi's familiarity toward me. It wasn't at all unpleasant, but there were definite discrepancies in the sense of distance we each felt between each other. For that matter, I wondered if Rimi was serious about it being okay not to clean up my room. Though Takumi does want to go out of his way to be somewhat dignified as a token of goodwill towards Rimi. Even though convenience store lunch boxes I had finished eating were scattered on the floor along with the utensils, and Roger boxes with sensationalistic illustrations on them were piled up on the bed. Either Rimi wasn't the sensitive sort, or she didn't perceive me to be any kind of threat. Both prospects left me feeling kind of ambiguous. Apparently not to notice any of my distress, Rimi sat down on the sofa and earnestly looked down at the lyrics booklet that had been included with Phantasm's CD. So is she actually interested in their music, or is she interested in the connection between Phantasm and New Gen? Call it a hunch, but I'm going to put my money on the latter, and by that I mean $1. I dropped heavily into my computer chair. I made the tension leave my body. And at least we didn't get mugged by any of the protesters along the way, so it's all good. My nerves had worn thin from cowering in fear the whole day, but maybe the reason I didn't feel all that exhausted was because Rimi was here with me. Possibly.
さて、どうしよっか。
Rimi closed the lyrics booklet, stretched grandly, and sent a smile my way. Come to think of it, I don't really know what Rimi has planned. Does she intend to take the booklet and the CD and leave, or what? What to do, she asked. What was I supposed to do? Rimi hadn't come here to hang out in the first place. Her original aim had been to borrow my CD. If she were going to do me the favor of staying here with me, how should I respond? Did I even have to do anything to begin with? Well, she didn't want anything in well, by that, I should correct myself and say that Takumi didn't want anything in exchange for lending her the CD. Though, I suppose a bottle of Coke might not be a bad token of gratitude. If this were an Eroge, we'd jump right into an H scene, but I better not think about that sort of thing right now. Good plan. Even under the best of circumstances, I would still feel very strained being alone in my room with a 3D girl. If I let my imagination run away with me unnecessarily, I'd become overly conscious of her and might do something weird to give myself away. And thus Takumi says absolutely nothing, though I think that Rimi has picked up on Takumi's stress. Silence. Rimi gazed vaguely at the manga volumes scattered on the floor and the Eroge stacked on the bed. So awkward. I had the sense that I ought to start a conversation, but I couldn't think of any potential topics except games or anime. I was going to think of inviting Daisuke, but that would probably definitely be a bad idea. I didn't think she would know much about them. Anyway, she said she'd be there for me, so maybe she would spare me and start talking first. Assuming she has anything to say, that is. I'd be in trouble if she expected me to take the conversational lead. That's an understatement. And again with the awkward silence. I didn't know how to handle 3D girls after all. I was grateful to her for staying with me, but I wouldn't be able to hold up under the pressure of the silence. Also, given the fact that would be helpful. Well, I was going to say it would be helpful if Rimi could actually say anything that might jog Takumi's memory. However, if she says things that Takumi clearly doesn't remember, the fact that they're pals notwithstanding, that might prove easier said than done. The dimness of my room was also part of the issue. It gave me the hallucination that there was something lewd in the air between us. That's just your imagination. Unable to keep still, I turned to face my PC. There was something I had to look up. Hopefully Rimi isn't discouraged by the fact that Takumi is now ignoring her. I thought of it earlier at school, something that might be a hint about how to come into possession of a D-sword. Is it possible to change your imagined visions into actual images? Well, that is a bit of a stretch. It's even more of a stretch is turning those images or turning your visions not just into images but actual objects that you can actually interact with. Using the things Senna told me about VR technology and how humans are electrical devices as a springboard, I began probing into the matter.
何してるの?
Rimi stood up and approached me. Should I explain? Probably a bit difficult. But how best to explain it to her? What a hassle. Don't think we have much of a choice in the matter.
ねえねえ、何してるか教えてよ。
Well, here goes nothing. When I didn't react, Rimi started poking me in the back with her finger. I certainly couldn't ignore her, could I? No, you certainly could not.
君はその妄想が現実になるって信じられる？
As I entered search keywords into my browser, I spoke without looking over at Rimi. In fact, it seemed more like I was addressing Serotan.
妄想が現実に無理でしょう。
That is the expected answer. However,
もしそれができたら人はとっくに万能になってるよ。
that is a very good point there, Rimi. Omnipotent, huh? That might very well be the case. Delusions were a world where even the most unrealistic things became possible. If they became reality, it would mean making the unreal into something real.
それがどうしたの？
それに近いシステムがアメリカで特許あるんだ。
Takumi explaining about the US patent that Senna told him about.
へえ、冗談でしょ。
I sensed Rimi letting out an exasperated sigh behind me. Again, under normal circumstances, this would be totally normal. But these are not normal circumstances. In answer, I opened the aforementioned patent image I received from Shiho.
これは？
A very complicated diagram there, Rimi.
特許の証拠写真。
But it certainly has dire ramifications.
本当に？
Leaning forward, Rimi brought her face nearer to the monitor. She ended up peering into it from very close beside me.
あ、私英語って苦手。すごいね、タク。英語読めるなんて。
Oh, you, Takumi, I would definitely take that compliment and run with it. So close. She was so near me. I could see the reflection of the monitor sparkling in her eyes. I was starting to get flustered again.
ねえねえ、どういうことか教えてよ。
I think he kind of already did. Apparently it had drawn her interest. Well, there's no going back now. Doing my best not to think about how close she was, I focused on looking back and forth between my monitor and Serotan.
生まれながらに盲目の人でもビデオカメラみたいな映像機器を通すことでそこに映る景色が見えるようになるんだ。これ豆知識な。
But then again, there begs the reality. Seeing an image is one thing. Interacting with an image as a real 3D environment is an entirely different thing altogether.
ビデオカメラが目の代わりっていうこと？
そう VR 技術って言うんだよ。
へえ、もし本当だったらすごいな。
I'm telling you it is real. Senna had said the tests were successful.
でも
Of course, this patent is proof of that.
機械を使って目が見えるようになるのと妄想が現実になるってどうつながるの？
That, my dear Rimi, is exactly why we're investigating this.
私頭悪いからよくわかんないや。
No need to beat yourself up over that. While explaining it to Rimi, I played around with likely sounding search keywords using trial and error, but I couldn't find the sort of page I've been looking for. Even so, I persisted in inputting more new keywords.
映像機器に映る景色も脳内で思い浮かべた妄想も電気信号だから。逆に考えるんだ。脳内に電気信号を送るんじゃなくて脳内から電気信号を送るって考えるんだ。
おほう。
ambiguous answers were all that came back to me. Maybe she didn't understand very well. Probably not. It'd be a bother to explain in greater detail, so I gave up on talking about it. I concentrated instead on looking things up. It wasn't like I needed to do it to understand, because in the end, it was nothing more than my own deductions. Rimi's still puzzled. Rimi went on nodding and making noises of assent all on her own. I figured I would leave her be. I'd run a variety of searches, but I couldn't find any documents verifying my line of reasoning. Well, if this was all being done in secret, then that's to be expected. Deciding to alter my approach a little, I began running searches emphasizing the patent-related aspect of it. That sentence there was a little bit grammatically incorrect there. I went to a foreign wiki site that ChäoS told me about, one all about American patents. I began searching to see if there were any patents similar to what I had in mind. There's that one again. First one. As I jumped from link to link, I finally hit on an image similar in atmosphere to the one ChäoS passed on to me before. It appeared to be a different patent document than the one about VR equipment. I swiftly skimmed the contents.
神経信号パルスを遠隔地からモニターし、それを映像および音声として再現する装置と方法。
Sending neural pulses back in the form of image and audio data. Well, that again would be one thing, seeing and hearing. But what about what about the nervous system? What about actually physically touching them?
Oh!
It was exactly what I've been thinking of. I'm thinking we hovered out of my chair.
これすごいぞ。
すごいの？何が？
簡単に言うと、これ他人の思考を盗撮する技術だ。
Recording people's thoughts. How very ominous.
思考盗撮。
In short, it meant that you could use special machinery to spy on the sounds and images people thought of in their heads. Considering the fact that memory too is nothing more than electrical signals going through the brain. On top of that, it said the neural pulse monitoring could be performed via satellite. That would make it possible to film the thoughts of everyone on the planet.
本当にそんなことできるの？ SF 小説とかそういう類なものなんじゃ？
I understand your hesitation there, Rimi. This definitely is delving into conspiracy theory territory.
特許ってそのシステム自体が完全に仕上がってないと。
But Victor Chondria's research has already been proven, so...
絶対に取得できないんだって。
So it had said when I looked up patents online.
だからこれもちゃんとシステムが確立されてるってことだよ。
But then there was an executive order to shut down the research. This wasn't fiction, or at least no longer science fiction. With enough money and technological power to construct a system, it could be made into reality at any time. This was what Senna told me. But someone could clearly be exploiting this technology.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら。
In fact, something tells me that Senna is more familiar with this technology than first glance.
人の五感すべて、さらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか。
We can put that aside for later. There had been no source for that theory, so ultimately it amounted to no more than Senna's deductive reasoning. But a source had emerged for the theory I'd thought of. I wondered why such an amazing news story remained totally unknown in Japan. Maybe because nobody wanted it to be reported in the first place. Frankly, it seemed Nobel Prize worthy to me, and yet somebody clearly wants it hidden. I went on to run a search for the words thought recording. What came up were the records from an American lawsuit.
また英文だ。頭痛くなってきそうだよ。
It was fairly long, so it looked like I'd have a pretty hard time reading it as well. The phrasing might be kind of weird, but I used an automatic translator to convert it to Japanese. The contents were, in sum, something along the lines of the following. Lawsuit brief. Plaintiff, N.K. Rabin. Defendant, the United States Department of Defense Central Intelligence Agency. Oh dear. The plaintiff's claims. My thoughts have been spied on by means of a special device, recorded and broadcast to an unknown destination via satellite. These satellites have taken me hostage. Day and night, without end, numerous satellites constantly assault me. 1. Tracking. 2. Observation. 3. Full-body surveillance. 4. Biorhythmical attacks. 5. Oral attacks. 6. Physical debilitation. They're quite serious. Since the latter part of December 1990, I've been forced to view man-made dreams, including both visual and oral components as I sleep. From February to May 1992, I underwent biorhythmical assault, pain, torture, harassment. Recognizing this as an attack against me, I began recording the following items and notes, beginning in February 1992. Date, time, the contents of particularly agonizing psychological attacks. Biorhythmical attacks were carried out against every part of my body. All those portions of my body were adjusted to best receive the unpleasantness, exhaustion, and suffering induced by pain, torture, and harassment. The main regions are listed below. Chest, vision, lower abdomen, brain to interfere with my sleep, brain to show me artificial dreams.
思考監視、思考盗撮、しかも国家ぐるみ。
We are very much in X-Files territory here, Takumi Nishijo.
マジ？
あ、私これ知ってる。何年か前に映画で見た。
However, Rimi, this is no movie. It's fiction. But the brief written here wasn't. There were two possibilities. The plaintiff was merely a mental patient, or the whole thing was fact. It was difficult to discern the boundary between the two. It seemed as though it could be truthful, considering the patent I'd seen earlier. But Senna and Ayase weren't mentally ill, especially Ayase, even though you referred to her as a mental patient originally. At the time, Ayase had become two people before my very eyes. I had witnessed the second when she became like that, but when I turned around, another Ayase was there, and in a school swimsuit to boot. She had shown me how she pulled her D-sword out of thin air as well. It hadn't been an illusion or a delusion. Once she showed me something like that, I couldn't say she was simply sick in the head anymore. Only Ayase had told me the following.
君が望んだ妄想よ。
And she's completely right about that. That mysterious phenomenon really had been Was it truly the result of what I'd envisioned? Well, you were thinking it when it happened, so if the shoe fits. Right beforehand, admittedly, I'd been thinking about how moe it would be if Ayase wore a school swimsuit.
理想度は力を持つ人のみにしか映らない。君には私の剣が見えているでしょう。それが意味するのは一つだけ。
Was this what she'd been referring to when she mentioned the power? The power to project delusions into reality. Perhaps I possessed it. That would definitely make you omnipotent, Takumi Nishijo. No. No, no, no. I was getting way ahead of myself here. And, with that flashback to reality, that's going to be it for this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Head, and when we return, we'll see if Takumi's deductive reasoning can lead us even further down the rabbit hole to the heart of this entire matter, and see what connections this might have to the New Gen incidents. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.